Every December, we read the same story: a journey, a birth, a message under the open sky. But what if we stopped treating Luke 2 as a quiet indoor scene? What if we saw it the way a nomad would, as a story on the move, beneath the stars, among shepherds and caravans where you can still feel the cool of the night air on your skin? The Christmas story is a story of movement, of God stepping into a world that walks. Picture this. Scene 1, the census journey. Caesar's decree required everyone to return to their ancestral village, the home of the forefather whose name defined their clan. For Mary and Joseph, that meant Bethlehem, the town of King David. It wasn't mere bureaucracy for them. It was a pilgrimage of bloodlines converging. Imagine the trails alive with families returning, donkeys carrying supplies, children perched on shoulders, tents pitched along the way. For city people, it's an inconvenience. For nomads, it's migration, a rhythm they know by heart. The Messiah's story begins with walking feet, not with walls. Scene 2, born in a place of passage. Why was there no room for them in the inn? Well, first of all, it wasn't an inn the way we think of like a hotel, motel. When Mary and Joseph reached Bethlehem, the village was overflowing. The decree had sent every branch of David's family home at once. People were coming in from all over, cousins, uncles, distant kin. Even among relatives, there was no guest room left. So they did what people in that part of the world still do when kin gather for weddings or festivals. And I'd say not just that part of the world, but the nomad world globally. This is what they do. They cleaned out the barns and animal stalls, laid out clean straw, and spread fresh lipai, a smooth plaster of mud, clay, straw, and moist dung, pressed by hand and left to dry until it's firm, clean, and beautiful, actually paintable. And my family experienced this among Gujar buffalo herders of the Himalayas. When guests arrive, animals are led outside. The space is replastered and prepared to be a place of honor for the guests. When people get to the manger scene in the Christmas story, they think of this little crib, bassinet kind of thing, wooden bassinet with some straw in it. Okay, it looks cute and rustic. But I've seen some pretty big mangers, feeding troughs, 6 by 6, with 5 ladies and their toddlers and babies sleeping on the fresh straw in this big feeding trough. And even then, it was outside under the open sky, away from where animals were tied up, but just out in the open sort of courtyard area of the settlement camp. So when Luke says the baby was laid in a manger, think feeding trough, that isn't a symbol of rejection. It's a picture of hospitality. In a season of reunion, everyone made space for everyone else. The Son of God was born not outside his people, but right in the middle of them, among kin who knew how to welcome travelers, who knew how to make even a feeding place into a cradle of belonging. Probably Mary and Jesus, maybe even Joseph, would have had that as their bed, the whole manger. It would have been, could well have been big enough to be a king or queen-size bed. God entered a world already brimming with expectation, among people who understood movement, preparation, and welcome. And in that humble shared space, heaven and earth met. Scene 3, shepherds under the night sky. The night the good news found nomads. Out in the hills that night, shepherds kept watch. To a nomad, that's ordinary life. Listening for predators, guarding the flock, reading the wind. Suddenly, a great light split the sky. The angel said, "Don't be afraid." Why is it angels always say that? If you saw one, you'd understand. The angel said, "Do not be afraid. I bring you good news of great joy for all people." The first to hear weren't priests or politicians. They were herders who already understood faith as vigilance and trust in the dark. When the light faded, they said, "We've got to go see this." And they went quickly, confidently, because they were family. Because they were family, extended family, in a small town, they knew who among their kin had just given birth. They could just go into the village and ask among their relatives, "Hey, with all their kinfolk that are coming in for the census, where was this lady that just had come, just young lady, come in and about to give birth?" Yeah, so their kinfolk would have told them, "Right over here, this way." They found the child, shared their story, and left rejoicing. Heaven's message came first to those who lived outside the walls and under God's care. Okay, here we are, scene 4, travelers from the east. Were the wise men nomads? Sometime later, more travelers arrived. A caravan from the east, following a star. Well, we call them magi, wise men, but they may have been nomadic astronomer priests from the Persian steppe. Their people navigated by the heavens. God met them through their craft, a moving light for a moving people. They reached Jerusalem asking, "Where is this one born King of the Jews?" Herod was confused, but the travelers pressed on until the star rested over Bethlehem. By then, Mary and Joseph may have been living with other relatives. Finding them wouldn't have been hard once trust was earned. Their gifts, gold, frankincense, and myrrh, came straight from the trade routes of nomadic merchants. Even in his infancy, Jesus drew together herders and traders, locals and foreigners, all following light across open country. From nearby fields to far deserts, the message was the same. The King has come for those who journey. Scene 5, the flight to Egypt. Out of Egypt, I called my son. Then came another journey. Warned in a dream, Joseph took Mary and the child and fled south to Egypt. To any nomad, that movement sounds familiar. Abraham went down to Egypt in famine. Jacob's sons followed him there. Generations later, another Joseph, son of Jacob, was carried there and became the rescuer of his clan. Now this Joseph goes again, carrying the one who will redeem them all. The prophet had written, "Out of Egypt I called my son." Originally, that son was the nation of Israel. But now, in Jesus, the pattern is complete. The old story circles back. Exile and return, promise and fulfillment, all embodied in a child whose first memories are of the road. Even the Redeemer's earliest years mirror his people's long journey, down to Egypt, then home again at God's call. Okay, time for a closing reflection. From Nazareth to Bethlehem, from the fields to the desert, from kinship to exile, the Christmas story never stands still. For settled societies, Christmas means coming home. For nomads, it means God came out to meet us on the road. The good news travels like a caravan, carried by shepherds, guarded by kin, guided by stars. This year, when you read Luke 2, picture not a still painting, but a moving story of faith and family. May you follow Jesus, our nomad shepherd, the one who still leads his flock through the open country of grace. Merry Christmas.